We have Black Studies courses available today for just $1. Your kids can't learn everything they need to on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook alone. So we created the most powerful online Black Studies course and platform we could. You can start today for just $1. Learn about Mansa Musa, learn about Tulsa's Black Wall Street, learn about Queen Calafia, Queen Saraonya, and all the other melanated genius and brilliance that this world has to offer today for just $1. Go ahead and click the link below, and we'll see your scholars in class. What is going on, scholars, parents, educators, people worldwide? I appreciate y'all for tapping into our live Intro to Black Studies course today. I am your professor of Black Studies and Entrepreneurship, De'Von Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. I'm excited to get into it today. I see that we do have some amazing scholars watching live. So if you are live, whether you're on Facebook, you're on StreamYard, you are on what's going on, Denise? Sorry, Adoko, my sister. We'll get into that a little bit. What's going on? Sounds good. Beautiful, beautiful. So go ahead and introduce yourself inside the chat. All right, if you're watching live on StreamYard, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, go ahead and put the city that you are calling in from and what you hope to hear today in Intro to Black Studies. All right, go ahead and drop that inside the chat. What city you're repping and what you would like to learn today. And in case you just saw the name Nipapo pop up and you're like, what is that? I thought your name was De'Von Truvel. So I had the privilege, the amazing honor of going to Ghana for the first time. Actually, it was my first time going to Africa, the motherland, period. But specifically went to Accra and Cape Coast, Ghana. And I went through a naming ceremony. And based on the day that I was born, the year that I was born, me being my father's firstborn son, and the particular God tribe that we went to for this naming ceremony, they gave me the name of Ni Papo Samwa Kuturonku. Ni Papo Samwa Kuturonku. If you want to know what that means, go ahead and drop inside the chat and I'll get into it. But today, we are here to discuss a brief introduction of Black Studies, right? And if you don't know, we've recently started a podcast called Black Studies Snacks. I wholeheartedly believe that Black Studies has changed my self-concept, my self-confidence, my ability to walk on this planet Earth, exist in this universe as a Black man in confidence. And that confidence is growing every day. The more that I learn about myself, my ancestors, and just have, I think, a base of knowledge and foundation to build upon, right? It's how I've been able to start this company, Play Black Wall Street, because I took my first African-American studies class in 2012 and learned about Black Wall Street, learned about the Harlem Renaissance, learned about the new Negro movement. And this just planted rich seeds for me. And then 5 years later, 6 years later, I was able to start my own company where we're able to do a lot of the same, right? Give that impact in a hopefully fun remix way to scholars around the world. Now, before we get into it, see, we say calling from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Looking forward to learning more about our history. Love it, right? Of course, y'all know we created the board game Black Wall Street, the board game back in 2017, based on the history, legacy, and entrepreneurs of Tulsa's Black Wall Street. So, Michelle, thank you so much for tapping in with us. We appreciate you. Now, you can probably hear it a little bit in my voice. Me, the Queen, and some of our friends just got back from visiting Belize, which is an amazing place. Definitely feel like y'all should visit and learn more about the Mayan culture, the Garifuna culture, and just how the Afro-Latino culture comes together beautifully, I think, in the country of Belize, Colombia, Costa Rica, and a lot of other Central American places. But with that being said, you can hear a little bit of the raspiness of my voice. So I apologize ahead of time if it's a little bit difficult to hear me. But just know, while we were on vacation, while we were chilling on the beautiful beaches, while we were riding on the boats, while we were poolside, I was reading books. All right, right now I'm reading this book, A Life of Black History on the legacy of Carter G. Woodson. Amazing. I was working on this presentation, practicing this presentation, going through it, and people kept asking me, like, what are you doing? Why are you working right now? Right? Why are you reading this book right now? Why are you going over this presentation right now? It's like, y'all, I love this. Like, even on vacation, I love reading about us. I love learning about Black history. And I've been just preparing and excited for this moment. So thank y'all for being with me. But again, you may hear a little bit of the raspiness of the voice going forward. Now, let's get into a little bit of today, right? In case this is your first time, this presentation is brought to you, of course, by Play Black Wall Street, but is also brought to you by the Institute of Melanated Innovation, which has two core purposes. One is to increase access to Black Studies courses, just like this, and experiences for our K through 12 youth and community members. Number two is to serve as a think tank for research that solves problems within the Black community or improving life within the Black community. We have three components. We have, of course, on-demand courses, which are available today, right now, from History of Mansa Musa, Introduction to Black Wall Street, Queen Saraonya, How to Start a Business. The list goes on. We have free live events just like this, as well as Black Future Month, which we host June every year. We'll be on our fifth annual this year. And we also have a incubator and accelerator that we are developing. Success tips for today's class, as well as any other class that you may engage with online through Play Black Wall Street Academy or IMI, is one, of course, be active, be engaged with the content. All right, we have various questions, some hypothetical, some we hope you answer, right? So go ahead and put that inside the chat. And then we do offer sometimes some readings, articles as well. So definitely make sure you keep the scholarly efforts going past this workshop or this live course. And then number two, very important, right, Ms. Denise? Very important. Make sure you are applying and connecting what you learn in today's lecture to your real life, right? We try to make sure that we give real practical information, things that you can not only learn and they're cool to learn, but you can also apply them to your life and make an impact within your life. We do have some powerful, affordable, life-changing memberships available for you all at www.imifoundation.com. This is where you can get an all-access pass to everything that Institute of Melanated Innovation has to offer, from courses to field trips to live webinars and courses to a little bit more affordable Play Black Wall Street Academy web membership, which focuses more so on the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. Both those memberships are available. Both of them are affordable and powerful for scholars, for educators, for parents, homeschooling parents, and whatnot. Now, are you ready for class? Are you ready for class? If you are ready for class and you are not driving, clap once. Hey, if you are ready for class and you are live in this chat, put the number 7 inside the chat and let's get into it. Right? Again, this is Introduction to Black Studies with myself. A little bit of an overview of today. This is what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about what is Black Studies. We are going to cover the origins of Black Studies, where the first Black Studies program was officially founded, and what careers are available for Black Studies scholars. All right. Now, disclaimer as usual, this is the tip of the iceberg. Right? We can go real deep into any one of these categories that we're going to go over today, but we really wanted to give an introduction. As Black History Month is around the corner, we want to kind of leapfrog, jump catalyst into a strong, impactful Black History Month this February by going over a little bit of the origins of Black history. But we highly encourage after this course to continue consuming the knowledge, whether it's through books, whether it's through watching and listening to more of our videos, whether it's maybe picking up a minor or a major in Black Studies. If you're a current college student, encourage you to continue the education. All right. Now, let's keep it going. Quote of the day. If you know who said this quote, drop it inside the chat. If you know who said it, drop it inside the chat. A people without knowledge of their history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots, right? Soak that in for a second. A people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. What does that mean to you? All right, what does that mean to you, and who do you think said that quote? For me, what that means is, right, if a tree's blowing in the wind, it doesn't have those strong, deep, healthy roots that are anchoring it to its one position, it'll blow anywhere, right? It can fall for anything. And it's important for us within our culture to understand what our roots are, to understand that Black history doesn't start and end with the transatlantic slave trade. I think sometimes like that's all we cover, right? The transatlantic slave trade. That's all we cover within Black studies. It's that in civil rights, but there's such a richness to Black excellence and Black history, and the more that you learn, the deeper those roots will go, and the stronger foundation you will have as an individual, and I believe as your contribution to society. And if you haven't guessed it yet, right, we did leave a little bit of a clue for you on who this quote was from. If you haven't guessed it yet, this quote is from Marcus Garvey. Right, definitely a spearhead and leader in Black power and Black studies, Black liberation throughout our history. Okay, now let's go over some definitions. All right, because I know there's some scholars that they need definitions that they're writing their notes. I appreciate you. Let's go through two definitions. One's going to be a little complex. There'll be some difficult words in there, and the other one we try to make it real simple for any age group, any level. All right. So definition of Black or Africana studies: an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach to studying and understanding the experiences of African people and African descended people across the diaspora. All right. Interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, right? You can have one subject or you could have multiple subjects stacked on top of each other, studying and understanding African people, right? Folks that are currently on the continent of Africa, or African descended people, right? People whose ancestors came from Africa, but now they're in Jamaica. Now they're in Belize. Now they're in America. Now they're in Thailand, right? We've been dispersed all over the world, and we're studying and understanding their experiences and contributions. That's that can be a little complex. So I like to always try to give two definitions. One just a little bit more simple, straight to it. A single subject or multi-subject approach to studying the experiences and contributions of African people around the world. All right, that is how I break down Black studies. Now, keeping it going, I want to give some examples of what that looks like in a single subject and in a multi subject. So, single subject approach. What was the ideological difference, right? Or the difference of thought between Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X prior to Malcolm X traveling to Mecca? Before he took his pilgrimage, before he went to the motherland, he had a certain way of thinking. Dr. Martin Luther King had a certain way of thinking. And when he came back, his thinking changed. And it may or may not have aligned with Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm not going to ruin the studying for you. Y'all got to do that research, right? But this question will talk about history, right? A historical perspective. We have sociology a little bit in there with how they're approaching liberation and civil rights for Black people. And then, of course, we just have studying historical figures, right? So those are single subject approaches: history, sociology. All right. If there's another single subject that you think that question tackles, go ahead and drop that inside the comments below. Now, getting getting a little bit more complex, right? Adding some layers to Black studies. Which subjects do you think would be covered in answering this question? What is the porosity difference, the texture difference between straight hair, curly hair, and kinky hair? And how does this difference impact the retention of water and the production of melanin? Whoa. Whoa. We're adding layers now. Y'all ready to break that down? We are adding layers to this, and all each layer we're still talking about black studies, right? Each layer we're still looking at possibly the experiences of black folks with various textures or porosities of hair. All right, let me break that down one more time. What is the porosity difference between straight hair, curly hair, and kinky hair? All right, so just right there, we're talking about porosity. We're talking about texture of hair, which can be broken down by chemistry. That could be physics, right? But we're talking hard sciences right now. So how do you study and research the different textures of hair? Step number two, we get into metabolism. Right now, we're getting into metabolism, and it's how does this impact your retention of water and the production of melanin within your body or within your hair. All right. So that is example of a multi-subject approach. Now, I want to start getting into the origins of black study. Before I go to the origins, at any point, if there's questions, if there's thoughts, go ahead and drop those inside the comments. All right. And I'll try to do my best to keep looking over at the chat. But if any point, if there's questions, there's thoughts, things that you're wondering about, go ahead and drop that inside the chat. Let's make this an active learning experience. All right. Then I see that Denise said reading in Sacramento or coming in from Sacramento, here to support in any way I can and continue to grow and know that Black matters. Thank you, Denise. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you, sis. All right, let's get back to the lecture. Origins of Black studies. Now, quick disclaimer, as you can see at the bottom of this page, this is a very, very brief snapshot of the origins of Black studies. And you can see by the timeline, the origins of Black studies will go back over 300,000 years. So I couldn't possibly sit here. I couldn't possibly sit here in one lifetime and map out from 300,000 years ago all the plot points and contributions of folks and how that has all come together inside of the subject of Black studies. I have had the privilege, and Denise was there in Ghana when I experienced this as well, of watching and listening to Anthony Browder, Dr. Anthony Browder, go through his timeline of ancient Kemet all the way to today. And I think that was probably the closest, most all-encompassing Black history timeline I think I've witnessed in my experience, and it was amazing. If you don't know, definitely YouTube Anthony Browder, check him out. Amazing chematologist, amazing scholar, and he will leave you powered, empowered, energized. Or at least that's how he left me after his speech. But getting back to it, we start Black history or the study origins of Black studies 300,000 years ago with the founding of the first human remains. Now, originally, or you know, based on a lot of scholars within the past 100, years, we've come to understand that for sure life began in Africa, right? And it started with the Lucy remains found in East Africa or Ethiopia, 195,000-year-old human remains. But recently, they found some additional human remains in Morocco that age all the way back to 300,000 years ago. But whether you're going with Morocco, you're going with East Africa, either way, it is clear that scholars agree that life, Homo sapien life, began in Africa. All right. So the mere study of humanity and those fossils can be seen as already a start to Black studies. Okay. Now, getting back into it, You have ancient Kemet, over 8,000 or 7,700 years ago, starting 5,500 BC before Christ. We have the start of civilizations, religions, history, art, science, medicine, architecture. Still to this day, y'all, people are trying to figure out how'd they build those pyramids. Can you imagine something that they did over 7,000 years ago with no internet as we know it, right? With no machinery as we know and understand it. They were able to build these amazing monuments that are wonders of the earth today. And we still can't figure out how they did it. Instead, we believe, or some people believe, that aliens must have done it, right? It's so complex 7,000 years ago that humans couldn't have possibly built those structures. All right. So it's amazing. I really think that Kemet, right, or modern day Egypt was really the first renaissance of humanity, right? The first time that humanity is really coming together, building societies, having high fashion, jewelry, art, technology, class systems, government, all these things we're starting to really see come together in the ancient Kemet societies, which I would say is, again, a strong start to Black studies. We then fast forward thousands of years to Mansa Musa. To this day, one of the wealthiest men, one of the wealthiest people to ever walk this planet. And he was the king of Mali from 1312 to 1337. And during his reign, he expanded the control and reign of the Malayan Empire. We're talking modern day Ghana, modern day Nigeria, Senegal, Togo, Timbuktu. And during his time, he also made sure that he established safe trade routes, built up schools, built up mosques, and he literally put Africa, or Mali specifically, but Africa more broadly, on the map for international trade. People from Britain, from China, from the Middle East were all coming into Africa to trade for the silks, golds, salts, and whatnot. All right. So again, we're starting to see the people of Africa being more seen throughout the world, being studied throughout the world, being known throughout the world because of the work of Mansa Musa. Okay. Again, any questions, go ahead and drop those inside the chat. But now, fast forward another 300 years, we have the MAFA. Right? And commonly, in most probably K through 12 classes, or even Eurocentric history classes, the MAFA is called the transatlantic slave trade. Right? That's what's called in most European centric courses. Transatlantic, right? Across the Atlantic slave trade. But that really dehumanizes the African experience in that, right? By first off identifying them as slaves from the beginning, from inception, where these weren't slaves, these were enslaved people. These are mothers, fathers, doctors, scientists, lawyers, farmers, medicine men, medicine women that were forced, captured, and turned into enslaved people across the Atlantic. So something that in Black studies is this time period is the Ma'afa, right? The great disruption, the separation of African people from their language, from their land, from their culture, from their religion, and from their families. Okay, and during this time, 1619, when the first enslaved Africans left Jamestown and landed in Jamestown, America, to 1866, right? June 19th, 1866, when the last enslaved Africans in Texas were finally notified that they were free. Okay, so we have that over 260-year period of people that look like me being forced to work on the plantations, all across the Americas, right? From Jamaica to Belize to Colombia to Florida to Texas to New York, all across Northern and Southern America, right? Now, as you can see on this timeline, the MAFA is a 250-year period. But as you can see, the contributions of Black life, Black scholars, and Black people or African people goes back all the way 300,000 years. So what I just wanted to make sure is clear, right? Is yes, I do believe it is vitally important for us to understand the experience of the enslaved African during this time. And it's had a lasting impact of trauma on our communities. It has impacted us on an epigenetic level, right? As some scholars like to talk about, the trauma that we've experienced 200 years ago is still rooted in our DNA. But so is the legacy of excellence from Mansa Musa, right? So is the legacy of being the first people on this planet and establishing the first renaissance of humanity. And if the trauma of the enslavement period is still with us, we can also tap into the brilliance, excellence, artistry of Kemet and beyond. Okay. So getting back to the timeline, we have the Harlem Renaissance. It's a huge period of expression and kind of a classification or re-identification of the Negro, which is what our folks were called during that time. And I start the Harlem Renaissance at 1906. Most scholars, right, and not to say that they're wrong, I'm wrong. It's just perspective. Most scholars will probably start it around 1917, 1919 with the Great Migration, right, with a lot of previously enslaved Africans leaving the South, leaving Texas, leaving Florida, leaving Alabama, leaving Mississippi, and moving up north to Chicago, right, Bronzeville, moving up to North Carolina, moving up to New York and Harlem, and moving to those different places in the Great Migration. But I really think there was earlier seeds of Black scholars and communities coming together as early as 1906. And I start that because we had the first Black fraternity started in 1906. Shout out to the Rebels Alpha Phi Alpha, right? I'm a Sigma myself, started in 1914, right? But you cannot deny the fact that the start of these types of scholarly societies within college, I think, was a start of that new identity of what a Black man, Black woman, Black person could do within America. All right, so that's why I started a little bit earlier in 1906 and move it all the way to the 1940s with, unfortunately, the start of the Great Depression. Let's see. All right, we're gonna keep it going. After Harlem Renaissance, I have the Black Power movement, which started in 1965 with the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King and with the birth of the Black Panther Party. And this Black Power movement is really the major catalyst to what we see as Black studies today, right? Those group of scholars, those group of educators, those activists during the Black Power movement are really the people that were at the forefront of advocating for us to have courses and classes that teach us about us inside of the colleges. Right. So you see, there's 300,000 years of foundation, of history, of contributions. When we talk about Black studies, it's not just about the 1960s, not just about civil rights, it's not just about the Harlem Renaissance. As much as I would love to only talk about Black Wall Street, it's not just about Black Wall Street. It's about the thousands of years that our people have contributed to this planet. Okay. Any questions? Go ahead and drop those inside the chat. I know we're talking about a lot of stuff. I know if you're a scholar like me, your brain is firing off. You have tons of questions. You have tons of ideas. You don't know where to start. Possibly, go ahead and start with the chat. Go ahead and start by putting a comment We can get the conversation going. Now, based on what you've heard so far, where do you think the first Black Studies program was started? All right. I took pause while I sip this tea. Based on what we've covered so far in class, or what you know, where do you think the first Black Studies program was launched? All right. Put that inside the chat. Put in the answer in three, two, one. Bow. All right. So the first Black Studies program, the official Black Studies program, was established in 1968 at San Francisco State University. We had Dr. Nathan Ayer, a sociologist, educator, and radical thinker, was hired to build the program. Okay. Now, 1968, we have the first official Black Studies program. And the reason why that's the start, and Dr. Malefi Asante talks about this in his um, Handbook of Black Studies. I might have it, Encyclopedia of Black Studies, right there. The handbook must be on my desk because I was reading it. Great book, really great book for scholars interested in Black studies, and it breaks down a lot of layers. The encyclopedia is pretty good too, but I haven't gotten all the way into the encyclopedia yet. So I'll give you a better review maybe next year when I finish it. But Malefi Asante talks about how, Black studies did start with Kemet. It started with the Nile Valley, but there wasn't an official institutionalization of the curriculum. And specifically, when we talk about the American Academy, when we talk about the modern day academy, the start of Black Studies is 1968 with San Francisco State University. In addition to San Francisco State University, protests from Brandeis University, University of Santa Barbara, University of California, Santa Barbara, and other colleges all around the nation led to a rise of ethnic and Black studies department at more than 600 colleges. All right, so it went from a couple history classes here and there. Even Howard University didn't start really teaching Black studies until Carter G. Woodson became a founder. No, sorry, not a founder, a faculty member in 1913, and started teaching history courses through the lens of Black studies. Right, but it was started. Howard University was founded in 1867. Didn't start teaching Black studies until 1913. Right, and then we don't get Black studies officially until 1968. So it's a slow, intentional, hopefully, rollout of what Black studies looks like today. And of course, today we see Black studies or ethnic studies departments in community colleges, some high schools, specifically within California with AP African American Studies, right? Which we love to see. AP African American Studies. I would have loved to take that in high school. So if you have it available at your high school, definitely take advantage. If you're a teacher and you have it, definitely promote it as best as possible. Make it fun, make it engaging. Buy Black Wall Street, the board game for your students in that class to make it fun. That's a plug, but kind of also a really good resource. So definitely do it. We'll give you a discount. But it's just so cool to see the growth and the spread of Black studies across different age groups. Now, hopping back into it, question for you. Question for you. What would you love to study through the lens of Black studies? All right, so we've already discussed how Black studies is a single subject or multi subject approach. So think about your hobby, something that you love. It can be music, fashion, technology, hair, beard science. Is that a thing? I thought there's been a huge growth of beards, pun intended, within the last probably 10, 15 years. So I've got beard science. If it's not a topic yet, it might be in the future. But let's see, economics, politics, policy. There's so many different things. Video games, right? What is something that you just love and you find interesting? And how could you possibly add a Black lens to that? If you thinking about video games or thinking about board games, how do you add the Black or African experience to video games? I see Queen Mills put spirituality, right? How do we look at spirituality? How do we look at religion through the lens of Black studies and the African experience of people across the world? Right? There's so many different spiritualities, beliefs, religious systems across Africa and across the world. I think that would be a really cool thing to study. And Miss Denise always has a good spirit, good vibe to her, and it makes sense because you are into spirituality. Thank you. All right. Anyone else, feel free to drop it inside the chat. Things that you are very interested in that you would love to study through the Black lens. Now, we have to talk about jobs. Unfortunately, within today's economy, within living in America, you do need a source of income, whether that's passive income and you're investing in the stock market, or that's active income, you will have a career or a job. And I think it's important for you to know that if you do choose to study Black studies, there are plenty of career options for you. Okay. Some people say that, oh, if you study Black studies, you won't be able to get a job. No, it's not true. Okay. If you study Black studies, there are plenty of jobs available for you. Now, I do have to put a disclaimer on there, right? Because I do want to make sure that you are equipped when you go into the workforce. You will possibly need to narrow that pool, right? I think you're not going to be able to work everywhere with that career of Black studies. But according to ZipRecruiter, there are still plenty of high paying professional jobs available for you if you decided to commit yourself to Black studies. So we'll go through those five right now. Number one, we have an African American Policy Forum professional, right? So if there's political policies, economic policies, social policies that are coming up that are affecting the African American community, you would be able to sit there and really advocate on our behalf, or just be able to provide data, insight, and research that can help the policymakers make a more informed decision. Right? You're looking at $109,000 a year. Another one, organizational studies specialists. All right, we're looking at people who help organizations, businesses, schools, nonprofits with their structure, with their team management, with leadership, right? Things of that nature. You would be able to bring in $90,000 a year. Number three, one of my personal favorites, you can become an African American Studies faculty member, right? So you can teach courses like this. You can teach spirituality courses, communications courses, technology courses, fashion courses, all through the lens of Black studies. And you can bring in $84,000 per year just as a faculty member. Number four, we have leadership within a university. All right, so this is like a chancellor. This is a associate vice chancellor, a dean of a community college, right? A president of a community college, um, anything of that nature. Bringing in $80,000 at the starting point. Of course, as you go up, you can easily get into the six figures within education. Right? You are making a difference in society, in scholars' life. You have the foundation and perspective from Black studies. Maybe you want to be a president of an HBCU, right? We're talking about the future of education here, y'all. Starting at 80,000. And last but not least, we have a communications manager. This can be social media, emails, maybe working for a magazine, videographer, photographer, starting at 65,000, going all the way up to $133,000 a year. All right. So as you can see, Black studies, there's many different pathways that you can go. What I will add on, right, again, just to extra prepare folks who are hoping to study Black studies and go into a career path, is your experiences professionally and your network matter so much. All right. So if you're studying Black studies, I would advise to have some type of either minor or just get an experience in something specific and have the Black Studies be that thing that kind of puts you over the edge, that gives you a niche, that gives you a speciality, but you should still be studying what you want to go into, communications with a minor in African American studies or Black studies, right? Black studies with a minor in fashion, music, hip hop industry, right? Black studies with a minor in education. And now you're prepared to go into your specific field, but you're also equipped and empowered with the perspective of Black studies. All right. So get your internships, grow your network, work with your professors, have your professors know you, and make sure that you are preparing yourself for success going into the market. Right now, we're rounding the corner. We're almost done. This is the time where we have an open Q&A about Black studies or about our experience within Play Black Wall Street. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop those inside of the chat. And if you know me, right, if this is not your first video, if this isn't your first podcast episode, if this is not your first course, you know I got a question for y'all at the end of this. Right. You know I have a question. But before I get to my question, I do want you to make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are watching this on Facebook, make sure you like and follow us on Facebook. And of course, if you found this useful, I found this insightful, go ahead and share this with a friend, an educator, a homeschooling parent, a scholar. Go ahead and share this with someone that you think would find it valuable and enjoyable. Our fellow Black history and Black studies nerds, we must unite. Why not unite right here on this platform? Um, but let's get to my question for you. My question for you is Black studies a class or is Black studies a framework? All right, think about that for a second. Is Black studies like a single class that you can go to? Is it a single series of lectures that you can go to? Or is Black studies more of a framework that you can use to study and perceive the world? I have an answer, but I'm not going to give you my answer. Or maybe I'll start the next workshop, the next class with my answer to this. But I really want to know, and I want to end it kind of with this question. We'll go through some housekeeping stuff right after this. But to you, is Black Studies a class or is it a framework? Make sure you go ahead and put your answer in the comments below. Now, greatly appreciate y'all tapping in with us today. Again, my name is De'Von Truvel. I am your professor of Black Studies and Entrepreneurship, as well as the creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. If you like courses like this, we have over 30 additional courses available for you on Play Black Wall Street Academy. So make sure you join today. We will either email you all the link after this if you registered for this. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link is already for you. It's right there. You can just click right there below and head to our academy. Also, make sure you listen to our Black Study Snacks podcast, 10 to 15-minute episodes going through Black studies, season one. Eventually, season two, we're going to get into the Harlem Renaissance. We're going to get into the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. We're going to get into Mansa Musa. We're going to get into a lot of different things with each season. But season one is all about the introduction to Black studies. All right. So definitely make sure you tap in. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Go ahead and search for Black Study Snacks with De'Von Truvel. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, I've been looking forward to this. I like teaching. I love learning about Black studies myself as a scholar. So if you have any books you would recommend, I know there's some powerful educators that are on this. If you have some books, definitely make sure you drop your books inside the comments so I can continue my own education. Definitely make sure y'all follow us on Instagram at Play Black Wall Street. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Next month, nah, I was about to say next week. Definitely not next week. Next month, we're going to teach another class. Okay. So we try to do these once a month for free for anyone that wants to join. Next month, we're going to talk about the father of Black studies. Do you know? Do you know who father of Black studies is? Do you know? if you don't know, make sure you tap in with us next week because we're definitely going to introduce you to the father of Black studies. We're going to go through his early life, we're going to go through his early education, his experience in the Philippines, and how he changed the fabric of the academy with his focus on Black studies and the Black experience. All right, this person's dope. I knew about them before reading this book, but then I started reading this book and just learning more and more about their life and how dope they were and how every small piece led to their purpose of being the father of Black studies. So I'm definitely excited to go through it with you all. Keep a lookout for an email. If you're registered, you'll get the link for next month. And yeah, that's all we got. So I'm gonna take a look at this chat really quick, see if there's any questions. And if not, we'll end there. Make sure y'all stay blessed. Identity. Just got the book. Okay, thank you. That's saved in the chat. Thank you, sis. Appreciate you. All right, if there's any other books, go ahead and drop them inside of the chat. I'm feeling good. Let's see. We got 45 minutes right on time. This is surprising. I usually talk over. All right, but appreciate y'all. Again, De'Von Truvel, your professor of Black Studies and Entrepreneurship. Stay blessed, stay brilliant, stay amazing, and go change a life today, even if it's your life. Read something, learn something. Be great. Peace. We have Black Studies courses available today for just $1. Your kids can't learn everything they need to on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook alone. So we created the most powerful online Black Studies course and platform we could. You can start today for just $1. Learn about Mansa Musa, learn about Tulsa's Black Wall Street, learn about Queen Calafia, Queen Saraonya, and all the other melanated genius and brilliance that this world has to offer today for just $1. Go ahead and click the link below, and we'll see your scholars in class.